think the whole scene is out of sight. I mean, really, this is really a groovy scene.
Woodstock, plus 50.
What would you do if I said how to Will you stand up and walk out on me?
Flashback. Sunday Morning remembers Woodstock at 50. Here again is Jane Pauley. Joe Cocker brought down the house, or more accurately, the field, with his version of the Beatles with a little help from my friends at Woodstock. For some of us, it's pretty hard to believe 50 years have passed since that legendary concert. Jim Axelrod takes us back in the company of some of those who were there.
It's been 50 years now since Nick and Bobby Erkeline first walked this hillside in upstate New York.
It brings me back to a time when I was 20 years old and falling in love with this beautiful woman here.
They were not alone that first time. Far from it. 500,000 others were camping out with them on Max Yasgur's farm in Bethel, New York, on that mid-August weekend in 1969.
What is that?
That's hashish. It's hashish.
Wow, what is that?
At Woodstock, 3 days of peace and music, as the poster promised. What no one counted on was torrential rainstorms that turned the site into a muddy mess, with food, water, and bathrooms all hard to come by.
I like to say that I think the whole scene is out of sight. I mean, really, this is really a groovy scene.
You see how close Bobby and I are standing right now? That's about how close everybody was sitting.
All those people, what was the vibe like right here?
We were all in it together.
They were all in it together, this Woodstock generation. A year after the assassinations of Martin Luther King Jr. and Bobby Kennedy, with the war in Vietnam raging, Woodstock was a counterbalance.
Once I got here and felt the vibrations that these people were giving off, to see the sun come up the Jefferson Airplane is something, really something.
We hadn't planned on going. The tickets were $18 for 3 days. Minimum wage was $1.60.
The festival succeeded despite the promoters' ragtag, chaotic efforts.
So many people showed up it became impossible to control them, and the festival was declared free and open to everyone.
Richie Havens opened the show Friday afternoon. Jimi Hendrix closed it early Monday morning with the national anthem. In between, Sha Na Na, Janis Joplin, Blood, Sweat, and Tears,
What goes up must come down.
The Grateful Dead, and The Who, among others.
People try to put us down.
Woodstock put Joe Cocker on the map with his own take on the Beatles with a little help from my friends. John Fogerty's Creedence Clearwater Revival was one of the hottest bands going when they played Woodstock.
We're going in by helicopter. We thought it was really fun.
We apologize for the noise of the choppity, but it seems there are a few cars blocking the road.
As the chopper came over the rise, Fogerty realized this wasn't just a concert. This was history.
The awesomeness of it, the hugeness of it, it was scary. I just have never seen a gathering of people that big before.
Construction of the concert stage continued until the last minute. Time problems created chaos in planning and organization among the producers of the affair.
Booked as headliners and assigned the prime spot of 9 o'clock Saturday night, Creedence didn't take the stage until 2:30 Sunday morning.
The lighting only carried out about 2-3 rows of people, and the rest was just black.
So you were playing to pitch black?
Yes. instead of the usual and all that kind of thing, there was kind of no reaction. Quickly I looked down and I see a couple of rows of people. They were naked and they were asleep, and way out there, like a quarter mile, I can't, it's black, but I see a lighter flicker, and I hear a guy's voice, and he says, "Don't worry about it, John, we're with ya!" And so I played in front of 500,000 people. I played the whole rest of my show for that guy. Don't come around tonight, but it's bound to take a laugh. Well, the bad mood on the ride.
We're standing approximately where the stage was in 1969.
Wade Lawrence is the curator of the museum at Bethel Woods.
Feels like sacred ground.
It is. Carlos Santana came here 40 years after Woodstock. He stood right where we're standing and looked up the field, tears in his eyes. He said, "This is ground zero for peace and love."
A number of security officers, while aghast at what they saw, praised the celebrants for their good manners. "Excuse me," "I'm sorry," and "thank you" were terms of common usage between cops and kids.
Sure, there are plenty of stories about the bedlam that marked those 3 days. But half a century later, Lawrence says that's not the enduring meaning of Woodstock.
It became a rallying cry for young people who were disappointed with the way their government was treating them, disappointed with the progress of civil rights and an unpopular war in Vietnam. And Woodstock to them was a gathering of the tribes. It gave them optimism. It gave them that idea that we could change the world.
And so, it's all over, except for the massive cleanup job that remains. The Woodstock Music and Art Fair, having done its thing, quietly folds its tent and steals away.
And the festival's anniversary has always provided a marker for that generation's legacy. Sunday Morning first took note on the 10th anniversary with singer David Crosby.
It was the only time that I know of in history that many people got together in one place, where there were not murders, rapes, robberies, burglaries taking place. Now, I want you to know there really weren't any. It was a peculiarly peaceful scene, and this is talking, statistics, not hey, groovy man. It was for real.
The truth is, if every person that have ever come up to me and said they were at Woodstock were really there, the planet would have tilted.
Crosby's bandmate Graham Nash was 27 at Woodstock, and along with Stephen Stills and Neil Young, they were all a little nervous.
This is the second time we've ever played in front of people, man. We're scared. Listen.
Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, you get to the end. That's tricky stuff to do live, isn't it?
Sure.
You nail it?
Yep, pretty good. Yeah, I was proud of it. A little loose. I mean, we're only sitting in front of 500,000 people. I thought we did very well.
Now 77, Nash says the Woodstock generation did very well too.
You who are on the road must have a code that you can live by, and so become yourself, because the past is just a goodbye.
When you look back now, the Woodstock generation, how did they do over the next 50 years?
I still believe what we believed then as hippies, right? I'm still a hippie. I mean, let's get real here. The basic ideas of that love is better than hatred, that peace is much better than war, that we have to take care of our fellow human beings because this is all we have. Those tenets that were established then are still relevant to me today. Don't you ever ask them why? If they told you, you would cry. So just look at them and sigh. I know they love you.
In the storms storms that soaked the festival, John Fogerty found the perfect metaphor for a turbulent world.
Long as I remember, the rain been coming down.
What did you see over your time at Woodstock that sparked the writing of Who'll Stop the Rain?
I think the main thing's in the final verse. Heard the singers playing, how we cheered for more. The crowd had rushed together, they're trying to keep warm. Still the rain kept falling on my ears. And I wonder, still I wonder, who'll stop the rain? I'm talking about the crowd rushing together, trying to find shelter from the storm. Meaning my generation. What was in my mind's eye really, to me, represented all of us, all over the world, or all over the universe.
Woodstock's legacy is plain to see for Nick and Bobby Ercoline. It's right there on the cover of the live album.
Peace among chaos.
Peace among chaos.
Peace is that couple cuddling close under a blanket.
I think the picture is a reflection of hope.
Mm-hmm.
That no matter how bad or uncomfortable the situation may be, with love and kindness, there's always hope.
They ought to know that couple is them.
If I told those two people that day that 50 years later you'd be sitting here explaining that picture,
We'd probably say, you're crazy.
But you know, we're not the couple on the cover of the Woodstock album. That could be any young couple that was there.
Yeah.
Right now, we're Grammy and Papa.
Still to come, the other Woodstock. And now we'll look back at Woodstock by the numbers. The Woodstock Festival actually took place some 50 miles from Woodstock in Bethel, New York. Traffic to the festival was backed up some 17 miles at one point. The number of artists and bands that performed was 32. True to the event's spirit, Woodstock was not a particularly rewarding gig, although Jimi Hendrix was paid $18,000 for his trouble, and Creedence Clearwater Revival received $10,000 for theirs. Most of the other acts were paid far less. Joe Cocker, for example, was paid just $2,750. Santana, $1,500. The people of Sullivan County donated an estimated 10,000 sandwiches and other items to try to fend off a food shortage. Though the exact number of who came to Woodstock will never be known for certain, an estimated 450,000 or more are thought to have attended. But it's a safe guess. The number of people who say they were at Woodstock runs into the millions.